Good morning, all the folks here at Wilson Hall at Middlebury College and the folks that are watching on Zoom. As we gather our attentions to this morning's panel and discussion, I want to invite you to take a moment to acknowledge your surroundings. Our surroundings. This room, of course, full of humans, but also the larger and smaller worlds we inhabit, interact with, and love, and too often taken for granted. Sunlight, clouds, birdsong, autumn leaves, and all the workers, the bees and the ants and the squirrels, and so many who look like us, who make this college and run. Custodians, staff, contractors, road crews, and those honking travelers up above sharing the skies with airplanes filled with friends and people going places and seeing loved ones. And to our own thoughts and worries and joys and sadnesses and mournings. Let us also acknowledge that Middlebury College sits on land which has served as a site of meeting and exchange among indigenous peoples since time immemorial. The Western Abenaki are the traditional caretakers of these Vermont lands and waters, which they call Indakina, or homeland. We remember their connection to this region and the hardships they continue to endure. Let us take a moment of silence to pay respect to the Abenaki elders and to the indigenous inhabitants of Turtle Island, past and present. We give thanks for the opportunity to share in the bounty of this place and to protect it. We are all one in the sacred web of life that connects people, animals, plants, air, water, and earth. So again, welcome on this beautiful Friday. Just the work of what people like me have to do is just point out where the exits are and the exit signs, and also that the restrooms are out this door and to the left. My name is Bill Vitek. I am the director of the New Perennials Project and a professor in residence here at Middlebury College. You are at the penultimate program for this New Perennials Harvest Days. I love that word, penultimate. All it means is the one before the last one, but it got ultimate in it. So we have been celebrating and sharing and learning for the last month, since the beginning of October. This is our 10th of our 11 events. And so many of the folks here in the audience and on the panel have been with us throughout the month. We welcome them. We're so happy you are all here. And so I want to quickly introduce our panelists today. You'll hear a lot more about them and then tell you a little bit more about how we are proceeding today. I'm going to just stay alphabetical, so when you hear your name, maybe, well, people can see here, but yeah, that's, okay, we have a little game show started. I'm going to start with Donna Bailey. Donna is the co-director of the Addison County Parent-Child Center in Middlebury, Vermont, and she has worked at the center since 1998. Mark Cesario. Mark, along with his wife Cheryl and daughter Normandy, have owned and operated Meeting Place Pastures in Cornwall, Vermont since 2009. The mission of their grazing business, the Perennial Grazing Company, is to provide trusted grazing services for livelihood, livestock, and land. Craig Marvich, co-founder of Courageous Stage. They will be putting on a show later this afternoon. A program that uses theater arts to activate creativity in schools and communities across Vermont. Craig is a member of the faculty at the Bread Loaf School of English and program director of Bread Loaf's Beyond the Page program. Evelyn Monhay, sophomore at the University of Vermont, who juggles full-time enrollment in school with her work as the youth program specialist at Up for Learning and her work with Rooted Organizing Community. With ROC, R-O-C, Evelyn has been working in partnership with her peers to create a deeply connected curriculum for youth. Megan Regali, at the very end, artist, art educator, wilderness EMT, wilderness therapy guide, yoga teacher, and a core teacher for Willow Wells' New Roots project. Sister Gail Orcello, a Catholic sister and a co-founder along with Bernadette Boswick and the late Passionist priest and cultural historian Thomas Berry of Sisters of the Earth Community, whose mission is honoring and protecting Earth as a single sacred community. Currently, the community has a worldwide base of partners in mission and sisters located in Vermont, Indonesia, and Kenya. So this is the final panel discussion of our series this October. We've had 5 others, each of them in one of our key spheres, which are 5 are food systems, education, the arts, sacred practice traditions, and wellness. Today's panel brings representatives from all of those spheres to have a kind of all-sphere gathering and discussion. Of course, you'll see that there are 7 people here, and we have 5 spheres, but many of them, we have multiple representatives from some spheres, but what we have learned is that there is no sphere. We are all connected. We're educators, we're farmers, we're caretakers, we're teachers and learners. So what we'll do is I will ask each panelist in a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about their work and to address the question about lessons learned from the pandemic, things we've all been thinking about. I will ask the first question after that and then open it up to folks here and people on Zoom. But to start things off, I just want to say a little bit. Some of you have probably already seen this presentation, 3-4 times, but and folks may have to turn around if you care to look at it. But I just want to take about 8 to 10 minutes to say a little bit about the New Perennials project in Champlain Valley and its connections to the Land Institute in Salina, Kansas, and the kind of work we do. So New Perennials began in 2018 as a partnership between Middlebury College and the Land Institute. The Land Institute was founded in 1976 by Wes and Dana Jackson as an alternative school. And it was designed to help young people from age 5 to 25 put some particularities to all the abstractions and theories in their life, that school was too much about that. So the Land Institute was a school where young people would read in the morning and go out and work the land in the afternoon to connect and learn this work. Soon after the Land Institute was founded, it turned its direction to research on the potential to create perennial alternatives to the major grain crops. And that is how the Land Institute now is probably best known. They are the first organization to prove that it was possible to take wild perennial plants and domesticate them to become food for human beings. And Wes Jackson's goal was to focus on the major cereal grains, which are the major source of our calories, and those are corn, wheat, and rice. And so that is the work that the Land Institute is best known for. When that proof of concept happened, not surprisingly, a lot of money and funding flowed into the Land Institute. It's an expensive business to do this work. But in 2015, Wes Jackson told his board that he wanted his school back, that he wanted to get that schooling back. And so we created a program called Ecosphere Studies. We had a couple of conferences. My colleague Mark Lappin came out from Middlebury. And that brought us to another proposal that we got funded in 2018 to explore this learning connection between agriculture, education, and the other spheres. And so since 2018, the project has a hub here in Vermont and a hub in Salina, Kansas. We'll start on the left side of that slide. So the work that we are doing in this project is connecting organizations who are already doing great work to create perenniality and diversity, even if they don't use that language directly. But since the pandemic, we have become much more focused on attending to the most immediate needs of people as the world around us seems to be breaking. And so it's pretty basic, right? Feeding, caring, learning. It's kind of what you do if you're raising children or just in your daily life. And so we are thinking about how to do that in ways that do less harm to the land, do less harm to people who are kept out of systems or who are forced to labor in those systems. And in Vermont, anyway, we are focused primarily in the region. We are trying to demonstrate this work has potential in a regional approach. And while the project began as an experiment, like what would it look like to have a perennial education, or what would it look like to bring perenniality from agriculture and bring it into health and wellness, we realized that we can't wait for all of these answers. As we are working, we need to be attending. And so we call ourselves a concept nursery to grow new ideas, but also a rapid response supply site. We can't wait. So we've been trying to do that with various kinds of programming. And we need everybody. You might think of the Land Institute as a place where they have people with PhDs doing breeding. This larger work requires all of us. Young and old, elders, youngers, multi-skilled, multi-organizational. What we mean by perenniality is a lesson taught to us by plants, perennial plants. And so it's not yet a fancy term. We don't have a definition yet, but we are looking to the world of perennial plants for what they teach us about perenniality. And so on the right side there, it's just the idea of growing more than one season, staying around long enough. And to do that, we develop root systems, and those root systems go deep, and they have to cooperate. So many of our annual plants survive because everything else is pushed aside so they can grow. Perennials, I say, have to learn to get along. So these deep root systems that have relationality implied because they're going to stick around. In some cases, they stick around for 4,000 years. In other cases, maybe 10 or 50 or 100. And finally, perennial plants prioritize, this is just a hypothesis, but prioritize longevity over productivity. What matters is being around, staying around, getting along, and less about trying to be the biggest, the best, the most productive. What is so attractive to annual plants in agriculture is that they have been bred for productivity. And it turns out that annuals are wonderfully poised to be productive. That's what they do. They get one season to get those seeds grown and up and out. Wonderful for us, but not necessarily for a system that eventually has to disrupt the soil year after year to get that productivity. So can we have a food system that also is focused on longevity? The poster in the middle, the picture in the middle, and you have it here in front of you, is a picture of real photographs of real plants. The one on the left is wheat. The one on the right is an intermediate wheatgrass that the Land Institute and other organizations have been working to domesticate. The Land Institute calls its variety Kernza. And you can learn all about that at kernza.org. The plant on the left, wheat, is an annual. Those roots are about 8 to 10 inches in depth. The plant on the right is kernza, and those roots are 8 to 10 feet in length. They store carbon, they capture water in further places. Now, of course, you don't get that in Addison County, I've been told, because you don't get roots like that. But the idea is that what's on the right is a prototype for what we hope will be not just growing wheat with perennial varieties, but a mixture, an ecosystem of plants, which would have a mix of course, annuals and perennials. So this project, there's sort of three primary bits, if you will. One, the community is crucial to the work we are doing. And so we take these 5 community areas: food systems, education, the arts, healing, and sacred practice traditions. You can see the folks representing these organizations right here. We have more than 40 of these organizations, and they continue to grow. Why do we work with community? Well, it's pretty obvious. They are rooted. They have longevity in a place. They are prioritizing that over some short-term gains. And they're doing the important work of holding things together. What we've done here at Middlebury College, thanks to my colleagues Nadine Cantor-Barnacle here behind me and Mark Lappin right here in front of me, is to tie this community work with a course. Just not a whole curriculum, one course that we offer in the fall. It's called the Perennial Turn in Ag and Culture. It's a traditional course in some ways. We introduce students to material, to text, to reading. Some of our students are here and can complain all about it. I can tell you all about it. We take folks out on field trips. We introduce them to Mark Cesario and Corey Pierce. So we connect our partners with our students. We slow them down. If you want to grow and have longevity, we slow them down with contemplation and walking and caring and interlearning. They have to spend a semester getting to know a non-human. This course now is in its 4th iteration. We have students who stay on with us as interns. They are now developing workshops along routes and taking them out into the community with young children and high school kids. So the learning is not simply at the college level, and we hope to do much more with that. So community and learning. And the third piece is to share. Media is a word that we probably need to change that word. We should call it sharing, right? And that's what we're trying to do. How can we share the work of our community partners with others? How can we share the work that we are learning about and trying to express in this place? And so we have a website that continually grows with information around teaching and learning resources. Our community partner bio list is really stunningly powerful, to see the people who have worked with us and continue to work with us, continue to teach us. We have a small publishing platform that provides free materials, free books, called New Perennials Publishing. And we've been working with folks to develop a podcast, at least one season, and potentially some filming opportunities. But to share this work in a way that is low or no cost, actually no cost, not low cost, no cost. Knowing that this work just can't live in a university, or it can't just be about loving nature, we are working to engage this community around social justice areas and trying to integrate that essential work with our work. We have 3 areas at present with the Wabanaki Land Rights and Access. We're working with Judy Dow at Gadakana. Resettled communities in Vermont, we're working with Rooted Organizing Community, and Evelyn is here to talk to us a little bit about that. And Veterans in Agriculture, we've been working with John Turner and Cameron McMahon and their farms and the work of their healing land to heal themselves in their world. And so since I've asked the folks here to talk about what they've learned, I just want to say a little bit about the project here. I'll just put these out and then we'll get started. These are pretty obvious too, I think. Joe, you're here because you're worried? All right. Okay. When Joe comes down those stairs, it's not good usually. So I think we're learning that we can get ready to do things, but there's no ready because the world is changing so quick and it changes in ways we don't expect. I think the pandemic surprised a lot of people in two ways, both for the way certain systems held, actually got stronger, maybe not the ones we wanted to get stronger, and others didn't hold. And now all the other things. So we have to live, I think, in a world in which we're not ready for things and to live that way, but to still be able to respond. The next two seem to contradict each other, but I think it's more of a paradox. We're going to see, I think, in the next 10 to 50 years, increasingly unstable, unreliable, and intermittent social systems as they bend and break. Some of you can't wait till they end, right? You think they should end. That's okay, but here's the problem. Some of these systems will, in fact, have such considerable resistance, they will actually get stronger. So the other piece of this, sorry, we had a groan from one of our artists, is that these institutions some of them will push back and become even stronger. But the other piece of this is there will be stability and slack in some of these systems that we all can use for these transitions. And one example is simply all the empty school buildings around the country. A lot of parochial Catholic schools are closing, a lot of other schools are closing. These are buildings built for gathering people, for cooking for them, for teaching them, for entertaining them, for letting them run around in a gym, right? These buildings provide a kind of opportunity for us to move into them, as it were, and to reutilize them. I've already mentioned this ready or not rapid response skills. We just can't wait for some of these things. We have to go with what we have. And this suggests that I'm against specialists and against global responses. I'm not. I'm thinking, though, that this kind of work will need to feature generalists who are good at working in regions. So the good news is, some of you are specialists, some of you young people are going to school to become a specialist. Keep at it, but we're going to need your generalist skills too, and we're going to need them right here. So I've been carrying with me three phrases, and I'll stop. Two phrases, 3 words each, and trying to put them together. The first is, we don't know. I keep saying that. I say, I don't know, but I think we don't know. And that can be paralyzing at times. But then, in my better moments, I say, here we are. And the we is crucial, because here we are, I think, I'm not alone here. I don't know, we don't know, but here we are. And we is this is we, but we is outside in the landscape. We is the community of life around us. So let's not know together. Let's be here. Let's be active together. All right, so our wonderful students, 2 years ago, planting kerns at the knoll and dancing too, because that's what we do at Middlebury. Lots of information here.